Welcome to A Better Way podcast here at Canopy Mortgage. I'm McKay Scholl, your host. Today we have joining the show Mr. Joshua Newmarker. Josh Newmarker, thanks for joining us today, Josh.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So just real quick, I've known Josh almost for 20 years now, and he's done pretty much everything in the industry. And we'll highlight that a little later. But first and foremost, tell me a little bit about Josh Newmarker. Where are you from? What do you like to do for fun besides dominate the mortgage industry? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Besides having a potty mouth in the bunkers on the golf course.
Yeah, let's maybe skip over some of those parts.
Okay. Yeah.
That goes back to one of the first times Josh and I ever played golf. So it's an inside joke. It's good stuff.
It's a 4-letter word. Let's all agree. Golf is hard. A little bit about myself. Yeah, I grew up in Palo Alto, California. Spent really all the way through high school there, and then moved, went to school out here in Utah. Moved back to California for a time, but this wasn't for us. I had a young family at the time, or a little baby girl, and so we decided to move back to Utah, what we knew, and that's where we kind of fell into the mortgage business. And like we always say, it's the Hotel California. Got into it. And you can never get out. So we got in around 2000. Thought it would be a good thing to help people get into homes. I thought it would be an admirable career to just help people purchase homes, and always kind of had a love of real estate. And so, moved back here and started doing loans, and then, kind of career took off from there. So.
Okay, switching kind of back more toward your personal life, Josh. When you're not doing loans, what do you like to do for fun?
What do I like to do for fun? What don't I like? You can only have so many hobbies, I feel like. And in my old age and having family and kids, you gotta prioritize that. So, in the summers, I play golf as often as I can, or even just a bucket of balls. In the winters, I ski quite a bit. I've been skiing since I was 5 years old. So grew up in Tahoe, skiing there with buddies. And, of course, living here in Utah in the mountains, been ski here at the Bird and Alta as often as we can, and Park City. And then love hanging out with my family. They're getting old now, so they don't have any sports for me to go to anymore, which is kind of a bummer. So I've turned back to professional sports, or paying a little more attention to that. But those are kind of my hobbies. And then, of course, I ride bikes quite a bit as well. So mountain bike and road bike, to just stay in shape.
Very cool. What's one thing about Josh that not many people know?
That's a good question. A lot of people who know me know I'm an open book.
I can attest to that.
I usually speak the truth. I wear my feelings a little bit on my sleeve, or I don't just feel like that's the best way to approach things and be honest and upfront. What don't they know? I'm a shoe lover. But I think people that know me probably realize, when I come into the office with a new pair of shoes, that I have a problem. Let's just put it that way. I have a problem. Yeah.
And consequently, his problem is bled into my life as well. And I too suffer from a similar problem. We meet every Wednesday night to discuss.
You got more Nikes than I do. Now, dude, I know it.
Okay, so I'm actually stoked, and there's a million different questions that I could ask you. This could be a 20-minute or 20-hour podcast easily. But I wanted to share something unique about Josh. Like I mentioned, he's had a unique experience all throughout the mortgage industry, but I wanted to hone in and kind of focus. Josh, many of you might not know this. Josh is really, I always say it this way: there would be no Canopy Mortgage without Josh Newmarker. And so I wanted to, if you could just take a few minutes and share kind of where you were at in your career when you came up with the idea of Canopy. So
so obviously was a wholesale rep for a number of years, was an LO and then a wholesale rep for a number of years. And that's where I met Jeff and Aaron, and was their Bank of America rep for a number of years. And loved the idea. You and I, Mac, obviously worked on, the pricing engine up front,
Yep.
early stages of our consumer direct, lives. Right. And then, so we, then when the market crashed in 08, 09, they asked me to come and be an LO because there was still a lot of loans being done on the box side of the business. And so that was awesome. Came in, I just sat down and, took 30 loan applications, I think, like that first day. Here's a list of people, call them. And I did. And I was like, man, this is like shooting fish in a barrel. This is amazing, And so did a bunch of loans, started the FHA program for Box. I was kind of the original LO on that, right? As we were kind of growing and bringing on LOs. And then started the whole corporate relations aspect of it, working with large corporations, Facebook, Adobe, people around here in Utah to give them corporate discounts and things like that on our mortgage services. So that was a cool program to get that going. And then kind of got, then I got a little stale and weren't sure what to do. And so I left for a short time and started a little bit of a startup, real estate / mortgage type thing, and worked there in their business development and learned a lot there. Learned I was probably too old for the startup environment, and a little more of a traditionalist in the mortgage and real estate aspect. So, but saw what they were doing, knew that Box and what we had, at least from a technology standpoint, was like perfect for them. Although they didn't want to give up any ownership. And so it made sense. It was fine. It didn't work for them, but I thought, man, this technology that we have, everybody's talking about, started to talk a lot about that. Right. And this was probably like 2016, 2017 kind of, where it was like, man, you're trying to find efficiencies in the mortgage process. And so I knew and always knew what Jeff was building, right, and you guys had there, but always great friends of mine and always stayed in touch. And so, yeah, I basically left there, and then I kind of went back and looked at wholesale because I felt like retail was bloated, right? Like I had a business partner there at that particular place who left with me or left a little before me and went to retail and was like, pricing's horrible, man. Like I got to go be a broker. Like this, I went and worked for this retail place and they were just bloated and pricing was bad. And because I can't do that. He was a very, kind of slim margin kind of guy too. And so I was like, man, this is interesting. And, the brokers coming kind of from that broker world and having experience in that, I know that's how they operate, is pretty skinny, and as well as, Box operated skinny as well. So it just kind of formulated in my head that, hey, and people started talking about tech and transparency and price and all these other things. And I thought, man, retail's broken. Like we need to come up with a hybrid of some kind. And so I called Jeff and I said, hey, Jeff, I don't know where you're at with your tech, but I think it's great, and I think it's enterprise worthy now at this point. And Jeff confirmed that. And you guys were a little slower, I think, at that time in volume. And so he just said, yeah, dude, I think we could really put together, really go after good LOs in specific markets and give them our tech, give them just a really transparent business model as far as telling them what our corporate margins are, letting them decide what they, where they need to be with their margins. And I think it could be a win-win, right? So sort of this hybrid approach to, consumer direct, wholesale, and retail. So we kind of crafted it. We talked about it for about 3-4 months, and then we just kind of pulled the trigger at the end of 2018. And Jeff retooled the tech a little and said, hey, let's, I'm going to make this able for, LOs out there, right? And, good retail LOs who have purchase business. We'd always look for that, right? In the consumer direct side, it's just two competing worlds and they don't cross over much, it seems like. So yeah, we launched it, and then that's when I just started calling buddies and seeing if this would be the right home for them.
So that's actually the perfect segue, and thank you. I love hearing that story because it's really a mesh of 15-ish year relationship at that point in time, with a lot of ups and downs through through different business ventures. One of Josh's incredible strong points that I've always observed is he's never just afraid to dig in and try something new. He proved that time and time again with Box Home Loans, and then obviously with Canopy. So thank you for sharing that. Let me ask a question. So your role, you're director of business development. So what does a day in the life of Josh Newmarker look like right now with Canopy Mortgage?
Besides having the pleasure of working with you two fine folks.
When he's saying you two, Ben's our producer, and he's here on it as well. So.
Well, you too. Well, you, Max, specifically, yes. You and I work obviously kind of hand in hand, but my goal or role has always been to, get out and call people and tell the Canopy story and share what we have. And I just love networking with people in the industry, talking shop, and making those connections, right, with people around. So I spend a lot of my day telling the Canopy story, having people come in and meet us, right, fly in and showing them, who we are and what we do, and at the core, right, and kind of get to know us. Work obviously with all the LOs too. They hit me up. We do a lot of that. I wouldn't say coaching, but you know what I mean? Talking to them and seeing where they're at and helping them, kind of craft their business model, right. And helping them be successful in their individual markets. And then, a little bit of recruiting in there, you know what I mean? Cold calls and, just kind of trying to get the word out for who we are. And, so this is cool to have this because I think this helps us do that a little bit, at least tell our story. So
awesome. So let me ask this question then. So you said you spend a lot of your time talking with people you love to network. Mm-hmm. Help me kind of understand, what is it you're seeing out there? I mean, Canopy's had crazy growth. I think we did an Instagram post recently that our chief marketing officer did, that showed we hired an LO every other day in 2023. So obviously you're a huge part of that growth. Help me kind of understand why are people choosing Canopy? What are you seeing out there? What's kind of the value add? Why would someone want to pick up the phone when Josh Newmarker called?
I just think there's a clamoring out there of people out there who are looking kind of for what we have. They don't know about us. I think some people don't know about us. So that's part of it. Right. It's so funny because, like I said, I think retail is just a certain way. It's very driven like from a corporate level. And there's this like curtain between ownership. Right. And then there was all these layers of management. Right. And no one really wants to say like who's getting what and how many bips are being allotted out to like various people for just sort of being part of the organization. And I think the true producers out there that are in the street, the branch managers and the LOs that are doing the loans, they just want to know that, like, and it's really just like, hey, just tell me, and so that's what I think they're looking for. And then they're also looking for ways to be efficient. Right. And the technology today, like if you have Encompass and you're bolting on a bunch of POSs that drive up the cost dramatically to a loan, which we all know that like the cost of a loan nowadays is like through the roof. You don't have technology, dude. Sorry. I don't, any company that comes to any these guys and says, oh yeah, we got Encompass and you know what I mean? And a bunch of other POS bolt-ons. I won't say who they are. There's one in our state. I mean, these things all cost money, and it's all things that are, API driven. Like I say, they're just bolt on. They don't really talk to each other, and they don't really even address like compliance stuff, like on the back end, right? Even like we have our own pricing engine, right? Pricing engine, point of sale, and LOS, and so to have all those things on one tech stack and one code base is like incredible. And they all talk to each other, and like it addresses compliance issues and makes everybody more efficient. So it's just cool to talk with people about that. And I think that's what they're actually looking for too, is to make their lives easier. So, and free them up, right, with time. And that's what I think we accomplish. So it's just fun to talk through that with folks. That's what I see that a lot of people are looking for. They just don't know it's out there. and they haven't found it because there's not a lot of people doing that, to be frank. We're not huge, and, we know some of the big boys in the marketplace, and yeah, they don't have half of what we have. So it's just cool to have those conversations and be really open about it and tell them, hey, here's our corporate margins. Here's where, where do you think you need to be successful in your market on a price level, and go and have direct contact to you and I, Mac. Right. And let's just keep this thing simple, simple and efficient.
Love it. So let me ask another question then. So I feel like in the mortgage industry, I've been in almost 20 years. You've been in longer than that. 2023 was probably one of, if not the most brutal years in the industry by way of volume, by way of change. It just seemed like rates were continually on the rise. So looking ahead, kind of want to turn the page on 2023 and focus on the greener pastures.
Let's do that.
Greener pastures. Where do you think, where do you think the market's headed overall? And I'm not necessarily saying like rates, but I'm saying overall, like what loan officers are going to be primed to thrive in 2024? What type of people are you looking for that if they came to Canopy, it would make all the difference for them?
Yeah. I mean, I we both of us been in this business a long time. It has its ups and downs, right? I mean, we've all lived through multiple cycles of these. So yeah, it's been a great year in 2023. Will it turn back around? Yes. And I'm optimistic. I always am. This is an important part of our economy, our industry. And so I'm super excited about the future, right? But I think the people that are looking to be successful in 2024 and beyond, what these kind of things do, or these market environments do, is it opens people's eyes up to, hey, lets them take a breath a little bit. And this is one of the reasons for our growth right now, and it being so rapid, right? Is, what else is out there, right? I'm not just concentrating on volume right now. I'm buried with, volume like they were over the previous years. And they can kind of take a step back and analyze the marketplace and look at, hey, what is the future of mortgage lending? And it's Canopy. I mean, in essence, right? And so it's really cool to see that. And I think that people that are realizing, hey, I need to cut costs, I need to try and drive the cost of a loan down. With that is like getting more out of LOAs, processors, and underwriters, and giving them the technology to be efficient, so that, you have, you're never going to take those folks out of, I think, the equation. I mean, maybe there will. AI and all these other things are coming, right? You never say never, right? And I can't see the future, but, for right now, it's a process, right? Of trying to make that efficient. And drive the cost of a loan down. So I think everyone's very aware and cognizant of, hey, do I need these big spaces, right? COVID did that for us too, right? Like, do I, I mean, everyone's pretty mobile and doing, online stuff and comfortable with it and comfortable sending in their documents online. And, everyone's kind of being brought into this, digital age, I think pretty rapidly over COVID. That might've been a plus of COVID, right? But it helps us reduce the cost of a loan, not to have all these crazy office buildings or whatever it is, that are really, that have to be built into margin then, right? And price of the loan. So I think those that are really looking to operate skinny efficiently are going to do really well. And when they find the right place and home that has the tools they need to do that, man, they'll kill it. And the market is going to come back. It's an election year. We'll see. It's amazing how gas prices and everything get low again during an election year, right? We're at like $4 for like 3 years, and back down to 2.25. Anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully that rate trend follows those gas prices. I would be all for the significant drop in.
Let's get us back rate down to 5, right? I think that's a good place to be, though. I mean, and people will start listing homes again, right? If we get down in there, so I think the market will stabilize there, and it'd be awesome to see. Yeah,
awesome.
Love it.
So one last question: you being such an integral part of growth, where do you want to see is in terms of volume, where do you want to see Canopy be in the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, I think our goal is always to hire good key originators in specific markets, right? And then sort of just let them do their thing, right? And I think we all and everyone in the industry knows kind of who those folks are. When we bring them on, and we brought on a lot of them, a lot of good folks, and that are a fit for our culture. I think we have them, and they will do better than they've ever done here in those good markets, right? Like, so the unicorns or the guys doing 50, I think we saw that even during, we brought on LOs that would be doing 20, and then they quickly went to 60, 70, yep. Right. In our market. So they would always have an increase of 25, 30, % in, just not losing loans, I think, potentially, and having good pricing and all that in service. Right. But I think our goals are here to be definitely in the top 10. I think we need to and should be getting to market conditions, considered here. It's always a weird thing, anomaly to that, but moving into that 5 billion, 6 billion mark, you know what I mean? And then eventually the 10, right? I think those are our goals, Mac. I feel like, that where you and I have really kind of focused on, but getting the right people in and around the country, to help us get there. And then, just kind of seeing, where that takes us. I don't know that we want to be number one, it's not a concern to me. It's really about the people that we work with and making sure that they're being successful. So.
Yeah. I like earlier today, our CEO, Aaron, I was on a call with him. He said, we don't want to be the biggest. We want to be the best. And I love that mentality, and that embodies, ultimately our leadership team, Josh included. He's always strived to be the best. So love it. So, one last thing I'm just going to say, if we can add Josh's number to this, put it there on the bottom, look for his phone number. If you're an LO out there and you want to see a tech demo, you want to see pricing, Josh is the man. He's our national director of business development, and he's been responsible largely for the majority of the people coming over to date. So
that's another thing. I didn't mention that in my day-to-day. I do a lot of tech demos and showing people behind the curtain, under the hood, whatever you want to say. We're not afraid to show it because no one can copy it at this point. I mean, there's just too many millions of dollars built in this system. And it's super exciting to show that off to people and open their eyes to the way that business can be done. So, yeah, thank you. Yeah. Happy to answer any questions. And like I say, we just have we just want to search for truth and always show you what's out there and be very candid about, who we are, our margins, and that's the other thing I love about Jeff and Aaron too, is when we started this thing was we're just not greedy people, and not pretentious. I mean, Jeff and Aaron aren't, and that's just what I love about them, They're family guys, and we're all kind of family here, and love for you to join the family if you're interested.
Love it. He's Joshua Newmarker, National Director of Business Development for Canopy Mortgage. Also a great friend. Thank you, Josh. You're the man. You are the
man, Mac. You are the man. You will run this show someday, so it's an honor to work with you. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thanks for coming on the show, my friend.
All right, no problem.